Hey everybody, Brian Von VA. I got a question for you. What is the weirdest role as a DM that you've ever had to do for your players? We're not talking about a role like, oh, I had to voice this NPC. We're talking about dice rolls, baby. One time they turned my big bad evil guy to dust and the party's bard wanted to snort him. Gotta get that nose candy. I was just going to let it roll, but the party insisted I have him roll a con save. He rolled a 1. And I had to come up with a bad reaction to snorting elf dust. Oh, laddie, I don't know what this sparkly pixie dust is, but I feel like hugging the tree. Roll a constitution check to see how much raw horse meat you can eat without sickening yourself. I'll call Alistair Overeem. I'm sure he's got a good tip or two. Bigfoot perception checks. They're convinced that he lives in the woods around one forestry town, and every time they travel that way, they roll perception checks to see if he's around. It started out as a joke, but now they do it every time. If they roll a 20 or higher, they see him, but despite their attempts, he never gets any closer or interacts with them. Use deer cameras, that's what we've been doing for years. Well, I'm not a DM. Con save when our rogue, who didn't know anything about cooking, rolled a nat 1 to make me, a gullible Aarakocra, who likes to try out new things, some fish sandwiches, using rotten fish found in a barrel in a goblin encampment in the sewers. Nat fucking 20 plus 6. These sandwiches are pretty good. Strong aroma, but tasty. I even saved one for the next day's breakfast, which caused half the bar to puke and run out as I pulled it out of my backpack and unwrapped it. Rolled a 17 plus 6, so I still enjoyed the leftovers. A roll to see if the oiled-up muscles of a dragonborn paladin flexing could distract a crew of pirates while another PC explored the ship. He rolled a 20. So not only that, but the crew joined him, naked, oiled up, and all flexing in unison. Armstrong, eat your heart out. Roll a nat 20 so that the Kraken doesn't kill you for offering it drugs instead of treasure for safe passage. And of course, they rolled the nat 20. Hey, one man's trash is another man's nose candy. Not a D&D game, but Call of Cthulhu. While investigating inside an asylum, one of the players, a character who was a 6'4" brick shithouse of a mafia bouncer, refused to go inside after a patient had jumped us when we opened the front door. And so he stayed outside in the pouring rain. The DM would periodically check in with him to ask if he wanted to do anything, but no, he just kept watch, and thus the DM would roll to build up his dampness meter. He got up to 24 damp stacks before having to go and find a place to dry off. Well, you know what Hudson says, hey baby, it's the dry heat. Not a DM, but a player. Regardless, I just really wanted to share this. My DM thought it was funny how I described in weirdly great detail how my character washed his hands. He was a very upright person with manners, so I thought it was funny to describe how methodically he washed his hands. So the DM made me roll for washing my hands. Critical success. I washed my hands so well it healed me and the next person I touched. That's a new meaning to lay on hands, am I right? 3 kobolds taking their first long rest.
Damn nice meal. Now just to take a dump and go to bed.
But you've just eaten. Do you seriously think you've already digested it?
I don't know. Don't care to. I just always take a dump before sleep.
What? Even if you take a nap during the day or 2 naps?
Yep, we're kobolds. It's easy. It's our nature to shit ourselves on command.
And then they asked if they could roll to shit themselves on command. K1 got some solid double digits. K2, however, got a 1, and was henceforth forever known as the Constipated. Also, it was at that precise moment they made the entire campaign about poop. A half-orc barbarian decided to shit on the prized giant pumpkin a village had grown, trying to outdo the kobolds, I see. While intoxicated, he had to climb on top of the pumpkin, drop trow, and do his business in the middle of the night. This was after having been adventuring for over a day and a half with only a short rest in between. Long story short, the party found him the next day in the pumpkin patch covered in his own filth next to a giant busted pumpkin.
Ryan Von VA then ad-libbed something really gross, and I just deleted it so you don't have to hear it. Because I love you, viewer. You're welcome.
My Cobalt Warlock is a chaotic, neutral little shit, but works well in a group because he views the party as his tribe and will do many, many things to protect them, including scaling a sacred altar in the background while the party is being arrested for a crime they didn't commit, and making rude gestures on it to serve as a distraction so they can try and make a break for it. The DM sighed. Roll for sacrilege. My character got swallowed by a door mimic. The DM had me roll a Constitution saving throw before the other players chopped me out. I rolled really low, so now that character has a sexually attracted to mimics trait where I have to roll every turn we're in combat with one to see if I offer myself to it. Ooh, very, masochistic. Wait, how long has it been since you hooked up with that NPC? Is there a chance you're pregnant? It's been about 3 weeks since then. DM, when was her last menstrual cycle? A sentence I never thought I'd utter. I rolled a D20. 1 to 5 was the first quarter of the month, 6 to 10 the second, and so on. In the end, it turns out she was pregnant. Hooray! The player was retiring from the game, so it worked out perfectly to have a good reason to stop adventuring. And congratulations on your 1 to possibly 20 children. You know, roll a D20. Have fun, kid. I rolled a persuasion check as a wood elf monk with charisma 9 to get cheaper prices on food and lodging. Our bard was sick that day. I rolled a natural 20, then an 18 to confirm. The DM stated that the high elf owner was crushing on me. Ooh, mwah. Me, being a typical man, rolled another charisma check to flirt. Nice. Rolled a 19. This is when things got really weird. My DM stated she was going to try and hook up with my character, and I had to roll a D12 to determine length. Most awkward 11 I have ever rolled. Awkward? You just Ron Jeremy'd yourself and you're telling us that's awkward? Okay. One of my co-players asked to seduce an opponent. She would have been a combat encounter barring some innovative role-playing from the group. The DM allowed the persuasion check. The DM mentioned the DC, and he rolled in front of all of us and nailed it. He passed an athletics check, a performance check, and a constitution saving throw. When they were all done, the now slightly friendly NPC was surprised we cleaned up her camp and hideout and made breakfast. Another party member had the chef feat. Coincidentally, we had some meat preserved and some forage. Another guy rolled way above DC for survival, which was fishing. The DM turned the now very friendly NPC into a guide to get us out of the area safely. Players are in town when a scar to the Fey Wild appears in the sky. Many Fey creatures are now in town. While staying at a tavern, some pixies start causing trouble. The rogue decides to grab one, shake it, and then yeet it out the window. I describe how the shaking spreads pixie dust all over the table. Now on the flip side, the fighter decides to just inhale and snort that pixie dust. Taken aback, I think for a moment and ask him to roll a D100 and check the wild magic table. Well, as luck would have it, it was the fireball centered on self. None of them died despite being level 3 or 4, but they got in trouble with the innkeeper. The fighter liked to brag to the wizard how they got to cast Fireball before them, all in good humor, of course. The master in my previous campaign had to roll a d4 to determine whether our meme character using a wish spell would 1. Transform a key NPC who was keeping other NPCs alive into a frog and eat it. 2. Fix the infection which was killing other NPCs. 3 and 4, I don't remember, but they were as dumb as turning someone into a frog. I never actually told the player in question what the role was actually for. The player's character is a gallant knight who is the stereotypical Horndog, and people can't seem to understand that he isn't a bard. I had the guy roll a contraception check, fortitude save for the creature, to avoid impregnating a black dragon. Needless to say, this human fighter has a half-dragon offspring on the way. The party hasn't found out about this yet, and I plan on revealing it a fair amount in the future. One of the players had a druid's wild shape powers transferred to them for a whole day while on a boat traversing the ocean. Okay, Pi. A storm front was approaching. They turned into a water elemental after I demonstrated they'd get zapped in there and went in to try and mess with the clouds. Then I described how their moist, watery body got turned into a mist of millions of tiny droplets as air resistance, and the wind tore at their body. And then lightning struck. Wha-bam! I ruled every single one of their millions of droplets took the damage. So I rolled the lightning damage and multiplied it by the number of droplets. They took about 50 million lightning damage.
The tale of the fatal sack tap.
A player kept using his bonus action to teabag a corpse. For context, I'd created this encounter as catharsis since we were all co-workers, and I described the monsters as our bosses. One boss was down, and one to go. Another player was too far away to be effective during his turn, so he decided,
if I can't do anything useful, I might as well do something funny. I'm casting Enlarge on Kurg's testicles.
My foolishness began by not clarifying that this should apply to the entire character and not just a body part. But, as I said before, this session was pure catharsis, and I wasn't going to spoil their fun with something I thought couldn't impact combat. So I allowed it. Fast forward through the turn order and we're back to Kurg.
If I hit him with any part of my body, that's still an unarmed strike, right?
Me, naively thinking he means hand, foot, or even headbutt. Yeah, that's right.
How does Enlarge work mechanically?
Double in size and 8 times the mass. Correct.
I want to use unarmed strike to hit him with my balls! How large are they now?
The players start collectively bargaining with me as they never have before as a party. Each and every one of them makes their case, not only for why this should be allowed in-game, but for why I should allow an extra 1d4 to any damage because of the increased mass, and for why I should allow separate damage die instead of the standard 1+ strength modifier that unarmed strike requires. Screw it! I concede and say I'll allow a d6 damage die since this fight has been more of a therapy session anyway, and have him make an attack roll, crit, followed by damage die, max, followed by the additional d4, max. It was enough to kill the monster. Roll to see if casting Firebolt on your dick to defrost it removes the whole thing. The rest of the party pointed out that Firebolt could kill a commoner, so if it wasn't cast perfectly just for heat as the player intended, it will remove it instead of defrosting it. This was an Icewind Dale campaign, and I never wanted it to go that way. The whole situation devolved rather quickly. He rolled poorly, which resulted in the party trying to find him the perfect replacement for the rest of the campaign. I wish I was kidding, and I wish this man had the wish spell. He can get his ding-dong back instead of having to fry off his huevos. Hey there, everybody. Brian Von VA, not with elephantitis in his testicles, making sure that you leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and join our membership if you would, as a huge favor to us. It keeps the lights on, and it gives you early access to videos as well as possibly some outtakes, because I have plenty of those anyway. I'm a stuttery, buttery boy, and maybe more. We're working on that. That said, leave it down in the comments below. What's the weirdest role as a DM you've had to do for your players? We love you all. See you next time. Bye for now.